sorry, that's for a Democrat show.
Let me know when you're ready.
No matter what the technical difficulty is, this man is a professional. He goes all the way.
What you represent to them is freedom.
Was an extremely great conservative commentator. We're tearing it up on Wednesday night. This is awesome. This
will allow me to retort.
Well, this is Jersey Joe for the Reaver of Common Sense show. 8 p.m. on shrmedia.com.
Actually, I just totally screwed up. This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense show. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm making sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover's here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to support the show, it's easy. If you want to support SHR Media, it's easy. Go to reaver.one/shop. Yep, it's that easy to get a kick-ass t-shirt. Oh, Trump's triggering more liberals today. He has them freaking out. There was actually one liberal I usually see on Fox, and no matter what, he's usually bashing conservatives. This one, he was kind of, well, I gotta agree with Trump. If he does this, yeah, I'll have to agree with him. Number one, the military rearmament, complaining that some of our military equipment's being built in India. He's saying, no, we're not going to have that. Because Obama said, well, that's good for political, can't think of it, but to get along with them, we'll have them build our military equipment. Forget that. Hell with that. We'll make our own military equipment. But an order, and I don't know exactly when, was placed in for a new Air Force One. Of course, it's over budget. There's all these issues. Trump said he's going to cancel the order. He's not going to play around with this shit of being going over budget and all this stuff. And that's what this man did with his business. He did not take that shit. He did not put up with it. And he didn't deal with companies that couldn't be on time with their product. And yes, he's done it in government work before. There was New York. I know it's not exactly apple. It's comparing apples and oranges. But he built an ice skating rink 6 months early. And several, I think, million under budget. Man, I don't know what the hell they did. This new... Oh, God. Sorry about that. The new adware is, like, killing my computer on resources. And I don't understand. And that's the only change I've had to my computer in the last couple days. I don't know. I think it's time to wipe the hard drive and put Windows back on, because this computer's acting a little freaky deaky lately. But this is Trump's MO of making sure things are done on time and under budget. and one of the reasons I voted for him. Damn. I don't know what this is. I just looked up under Task Manager to see what's eating up my damn CPU, and I got an anti-malware service executable. And it is just chewing up my processes. My processing. It's like, oh my God. Let me see what that's... I know it has nothing to do with the show, but let's see what that actually does. It is, and related to Windows Defender. Oh. Oops, sorry about that. God dang it. Well, it's finally slowing down on the executable, so we'll leave it for now. So, back to... Hi, Kel. I was having a little issue with the computer, so I was checking on it real quick to make sure I don't have to, get a hammer out and start beating on the computer anytime soon. Had a very interesting weekend on Twitter. Had some fun with some idiots. The liberals are losing their shit. I mean, they've just lost it. You have Nancy Pelosi came out yesterday and is attacking Ben Carson. And she's getting called a racist right now because the same thing that they did. If you went and made any negative comment towards a black man, you got called a racist. So that's being thrown in her face. Yeah, Kel, I've had some doctor's appointments. They're still trying to figure out what is wrong with me. Nobody seems to know. That's a totally different subject right there that has me on. What it is the liberals are scared shitless right now because you have minorities, you have women. Everything that they claim the Republicans were against, they are showing they haven't a ton of. And it's going to show the world and the country this is what we have in the Republican Party, that it was a bunch of lies by the Democrats. And they're going, shit, we are going to lose our stance on everything. It's... I don't know. It's just Democrats being dumbasses. I had this one guy. I mean, he was losing his shit. Even after it was off of Jake Tapper situation. Well, I should say Twitter. And this guy went absolutely nuts, saying Hillary never lied. Everything was truthful. Even the FBI said she didn't lie, which I started showing video clips of, well, how she lied, how the FBI said she lied. Nope, that's not what went down. He started posting memes. And this guy was, totally deranged. And I mean, seriously, deranged. That even at one point, Jake Tapper tweeted in on it. Yes, she misrepresentation of the facts to the FBI, about the FBI. Oh, Jake Tapper doesn't know what he's talking. This guy went on and on that he is the only one in the world that knows what went on. He is the only one. Everybody else is lying. Hillary's telling the truth. And it was like, oh my God, you are delusional, man. Oh. And then he writes, so disappointed that she wasn't executed. Now, he was trying to insinuate I was disappointed. Well, that one got sent to Secret Service. These people are sick. They need help. And it was funny. No such thing as a bathroom server. Well, I guess he didn't watch the news because she even admitted that's where the friggin' server was. These people are deranged. So the other thing I've been going on, because it really pisses me off, this fake news crap. We're going to talk about it with some articles coming up. But this fake news shit, all it is, not about fake news. Because the only time I hear anything being called fake is when it's a negative about the Democrats. All it is another way to censor free speech, to censor the negatives about Democrats so that they can hide what they are doing wrong behind the veil of it's fake news, it's false news. So it must be removed from the internet and be removed from television. It's a silencing of free speech, people. It's silencing the opposition. You know, the left loves to go the Nazi route anymore. Who's the ones? Who's the one that silenced the opposition? Who's the one that went after their opposing parties' rallies and started violence? Who's the one that controlled the media? And think about that, because that was all Hitler and his parties. That's how he took control. Even after he had won some elections, he still had his people go and attack. He controlled the message. He's the one that silencing what was out there. Any opposition he was silencing. What are the Democrats doing? They're out there silencing any negative information about them. They're controlling the media. They're sending people into these rallies to start violence. I don't want to go that route because it's the Democrat Party, the Nazi Party. Are they the SS? No. But if you want to compare, we'll compare. You're trying to push in a government that controls every aspect of your life. And that's what the Democrats are doing. And you see a huge, huge pushback in the world today. I saw the list of all those globalists, because that's what that's what the word is nowadays. It's globalists are the ones that are basically trying to become dictators of their country. And they say they do it for the betterment of the world so we can come together. Well, pretty much all of them are out. Obama's on his way out. I know Italy. The dumbass in England. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I'm sorry. The only one that's left in office right now, left in office, is Trudeau. All the rest of them are pretty much, France, he's not running again. Italy, he stepped down yesterday. Obama on the way out. Merkel, well, she's running again, but doubtful she's going to win it again. I mean, these countries, the people are standing up. I think Australia even pushed away from this globalism. People love their countries. We want our countries. We like our countries. We don't want this globalism bullshit. Should we be a part of the world? Yes. Should we interact with the world? Yes. Ends there. We have citizens. We have our borders. We have our way of doing things. Not the way that somebody several thousand miles away does it. We have our way of doing it. And I got to talk with my family. We can't understand for how many decades we led as a nation. Now we play follow the leader. I just can't understand where it's the only ones that want us to come together to this globalization of countries are these elites that are going to make more money. The people are happy the way we are. Well, except for the liberals. Oh, what's the other thing? Now, supposedly, I mean, we've become so docile as a country. We've become so pussified that we're supposed to ask permission from China to accept a phone call of congratulations from the Taiwanese president. China didn't ask permission to expand into the South Seas, did they? China didn't ask permission to manipulate their currency, did they? And we can go on and on and on. It was a congratulations, and that's it. You have Obama outsourcing all these jobs to other countries. Our military weapons. He sells military weapons to Taiwan. Obama has. He's kissed ass of dictators. He's the one that went to Cuba without permission. He did this lifting the embargo on Cuba all by himself. But we're going to bitch at Trump because he took a phone call without permission. This is going to be a long, long 4 starting years. You have Democrats in California that already said that they refuse to work with them. The hell with national unity. It's funny. They've been crying that all we need to do, we need to get along. National unity. Oh, we're not in power? Fuck you, no national unity. Bunch of hypocrites. We'll be right back after this short message. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Radio, YouTube, Spreaker, and iTunes. We'll be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Now, at Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet. Via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the Reaver of Common Sense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show.
And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe. And I'm trying to make sense out of this senseless. And it never seems to end. Now Florida, there's a lawyer that's filed a lawsuit for a recount. It's absolutely ridiculous. So now what's going to happen is every fucking presidential election, we're going to have recounts upon recounts upon recounts. I really thought the laws were set up that the only way recounts could happen is if you had proof some kind of shenanigans happened. So now all we could say is just, we want recounts because we think there might be. We have no proof, but we think there might be shenanigans. So, you know, it's going to get ridiculous. And it's a lawyer. He's, from what I understand, is the date has passed. He doesn't have the requirements, so he has to file a lawsuit. And Jill Stein keeps talking about it's the constitutional right to have a recount. You know, I've gone over the fucking Constitution. Nowhere have I seen you have the right to cry about the results and ask for a recount. I have not seen where you have the right to lie to get a recount. But I don't see liberal news freaking out over that fake fucking news. And it pisses me. This whole thing is pissing me off. Because the childish liberals, you know, if they actually had a little bit of proof that there was some shenanigans, I'd be all for the goddamn recount. Even after Hillary Clinton threw a hissy fit and said that you have to accept the results of the election and concede if you lose. Hang on. Let me see if I can find.
Of course, you know, because to say you won't respect the results of the election, that is a direct threat to our democracy. the peaceful, direct threat to our democracy.
Hang on.
That is a direct threat. Because to say you won't respect the results of the election.
So just saying you won't respect is a direct threat on our democracy. Again, we have a republic, but that, all right, I'm not going to split hairs with this woman. It's breathtaking right there. Yeah, Joe Biden is now saying he's going to run for president in 2020. The liberals were complaining that the election was too long of a road. It was almost 2 years. But now they're going to, for the next 4 years, we're going to have to listen to this shit. I'll admit, what was it, 18 months of this primary was enough to drive you batty. But
of course, because to say you won't respect the results of the election, that is a direct threat to our democracy.
Listen to the liberals cheer.
The peaceful transfer of power is one of the things that makes America America. It is not a joke. And look, some people are sore losers, and we just got to keep going.
I guess Hillary's the sore loser. That is her own words. That's not my words. That's not me reading a reporter's word. That is her speaking. Anybody else, like, their heads blowing up from the irony of this all? And what I hear all the time about the alt-right, which the New York Times even wrote a piece saying, we really have to back off this because prior to this election, alt-right had a totally different meaning. It just was someone that was on the extreme right of the spectrum was an alt-right. And that's New York Times right now. Come on. Hillary changed the definition more than halfway through the election process to this racist meaning. After Stephen Bannon went and joined Trump's campaign, they decided they had to discredit him, so they're going to change what alt-right means and turn it into a racist statement. Alt-right was just someone that was on the extreme right. In the news, a blizzard has hit Dakota pipeline site. Don't give them no fucking help. Yes, I'm not for the Dakota. I'm so sick. So, and North Dakota, the pipeline issue. It was in planned. It got all the approvals. Everything was good. They're doing construction. All they have to do is finish this one section, and all of a sudden there's hissy fits over it. And now, if I was this company, I'd be suing the American government. I would sue the shit out of them. They approved all this. Everything was good to go. And now they've stopped. Sorry. There is a heightened terror threat against Los Angeles transit system And they got police, and I'm talking tactical police, all over the area in Los Angeles right now. Shit, where was I? Now I lost what I was talking about. Cal. It's... The only way the left can win, the only way, is by lying and silencing. That's the only way they can win. They got to lie about who's who. The alt-right was never about racism. Bannon's not racist. Jesus Christ, all I've heard with every single appointment of Trump, oh, he's a racist. He's a white supremacist, and he's unqualified. Oh, he's just a sexist and a racist and unqualified. Oh, black man's been appointed. He's unqualified for that position. Oh, that one's a sexist. That one's racist. Racist and white supremacist. Seriously, that's what I've heard every single appointment from the left. That's it. They don't have nothing. They have zero. They have gone on this identity politics and calling everybody a racist for so long. That's all they know how to do. Think about this election. What was Hillary's stance? What was she campaigning on? And there's a DNC, I forget her name, younger woman, and she's up there in the DNC now. And she even said, we can't campaign on the negatives of the opponent. We can't campaign on just attacking and saying nasty things. And that's all Hillary did. Her whole her campaign on the economy was Obama and Bill Clinton, her husband. That's all it was. That was her campaign. Attack Trump, call him a racist, call him a sexist, talk about her husband's economy plan. And what did she say? I'm going to appoint Bill, my husband, to do the economy because that's what he's good at. So in other words, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing with the economy and ride on the coattails of Obama, which hasn't worked. What, I think it's since like 2012, Obama's been out there every 2 years. You're not voting on the politicians. You are voting on my policies. You are voting on my legacies. Loss, 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 loss. I agree, Cal. And, yeah, the Green Party has been trying to distance themselves from Jill Stein for a while. They've called and said that not called, but they're calling it out, saying that she's in the bag with Hillary. Now, there is another candidate. I forget, Dela something. And he has a recount in Nevada going. And that's the one where Hillary won by a very thin margin. And some numbers just came out. I was going to possibly do this. Let's do it now real quick. Day 5 totals. Trump has lost 302 votes. This is in Wisconsin, by the way. Wisconsin. Trump has lost 302 votes, but he's gained 386 votes for a net vote gain by day 5 of 84 votes. Hillary has lost 293, gained 351 for a net gain of 58. That means Trump on day 5 has gained 26 votes. We're gonna have to pick this up after the break because Jill Stein, saying that she drops one lawsuit with the state and goes directly federal. That's bullshit. The state didn't even have a chance to rule, and she goes straight to the federal level. Nah. She's playing games. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio. We will be right back. As soon as I find the button. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. And we also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying coffee is stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Much Show with its host, the Jersey Boys. Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date on everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show.
And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm making sense out of the senseless. Well, two things I want to make a point on, and I have a special guest calling in. I don't care, BZ. You know I don't mind. Michigan, one of the reasons doing a recount in Michigan is because there's a high number of votes of people that didn't vote for the president election, but they voted down ballot, which is something that a lot of people said they were going to do. They weren't going to vote for president, and they would vote down ballot. So it's kind of, okay, this is what they said they were going to do. That's what a lot of people, I think it's like 70,000 people said that they supposedly didn't vote. So it kind of explains the down ballot thing of, okay, 70,000, big vote. A lot of people said they didn't want to vote this election because they didn't like Hillary and they didn't like Trump. Deal with it. Go on. And I talked about it briefly. And I honestly believe this is what they're trying to accomplish with this whole recount crap. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, BZ.
Uh-oh, Jersey Joe. I think I'm going to have to use another line. I can barely hear you.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm gonna call right back. This is terrible.
All right, we could hear him perfectly fine. We've had this once before where he had trouble hearing, and it was something on his end. Tribal leaders are now saying it's time for the protesters to leave camp, get the hell out of there. They got a blizzard. Get the hell out, go. Now the tribal leaders are going, oh, we don't want these people here. Uh-oh. No. We don't want to be responsible for that. Yeah. I have no sympathies for those people. But as I was trying to say, here we go again. BZ, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it was, you're exactly right. It's on my end over here. But if I can't hear you, because I was listening to it, there's a little bit of a delay. If I can't hear you, then it really doesn't do much. But yeah, it was my end right here. Much better now.
Cool. And before we get in, because I'm going to give you the floor, but I wanted, what I think they're trying to do with these recounts is they're trying to lock up the electoral vote to make Trump come up short on the 270. So they know he'll still get elected because House will elect him. But they want to delegitimize his presidency. Go, see, the people didn't vote for him. He was appointed. He's trying to be a dictator, so forth and so on. It's a shameless attempt that the liberals do. Other than that, how you doing today, BZ?
Doing pretty good. It's foggy as hell right here at this point, and really, really cold. So, it must be some of that global warming that everyone hears about.
Well, I put it this way. If it wasn't for global warming, think how much colder it would be.
Well, here's the funny thing. The various climatologists talk about the proverbial hockey stick. It's odd when you actually begin to look at various forums with regard to climate change. Some people are suggesting that now we're beginning to enter a new ice age. So, the bottom line is no one really knows. Weather is cyclical. It occurs.
Exactly. It changes. That's why we call it Mother Nature, because we never know what it's going to do.
Well,
I don't know. It drives me nuts. Yeah, we got a little cold going. We're 81 right now?
81?
Yeah, it's 81
Holy
outside.
crap. Wow.
But we're overcast. Right. We got some storms coming in, some thunderstorms rolling in today. So, looking at
absolutely astounding.
Yeah, I love doing that to people when they're in I'll talk to Crash, my co-host, on Wednesday night, and he'll be dealing with 30-degree weather. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's cold here. We're 70 degrees." He'll be telling me to F myself left, right, and center. So.
Well, down here in Sacramento, it's foggy and it's cold. It's probably about 39, 40 degrees out there. I'm going to be going up to my cabin a little bit later on today. I just looked at the weather up there. It's snowing and 20 degrees right now.
Well, North Dakota, they're now, even the tribal leaders are telling the protesters basically to get the hell moving, get out of there. They got a blizzard going on in that Dakota protest. They're trying to get the people out of there because it's turning dangerous for them. Not besides the fact that they gave in to the protesters, but.
Well, the leftists won't leave. They're going to stay there. And then what will happen is that you'll find the state and the federal government have to spend lots of money to go back into that area and save those people and spend your tax dollars.
Well, actually, it was showing some live video, and it looks like the people are actually being smart because they're freezing their tuchuses off and they're getting the hell out of there. You seen a march of people moving out because it looks like it's getting real bad with the snow. What's going on in California, by the way? L.A. right now has high presence of police at transit areas, tactical police squads. Something about Go ahead.
They received what they considered to be a credible threat down there, but after a while it all blends in. There's a threat that ISIS is going to stage something on Trump's inauguration on the 20th of next month. They must think that there's some way that it was verified in some fashion, or else they wouldn't spend the money on something like this. So there must have been some form of credibility for that to have occurred.
I wonder sometimes if they're testing our response. They put out these threats. Number one, they know also then it puts everybody in a lull because they put these threats out. We put out, alerts and nothing happens. People get, just another alert. Who cares? Nothing's going to happen, and then, ISIS sits back and all of a sudden when no warning, no nothing, they attack. And it messes with our ability to predict.
Well, yeah, it's the crying wolf syndrome.
Yeah.
And you have to expect that something like that is going to occur. It's like anytime that there's an actual terrorist event, you have to think in terms of twos and threes. It's like the deer theory. If you're driving along at night and your headlights illuminate a deer, the first thing you ought to be thinking is, where's his pals? Because wherever there's one deer, there's going to be a lot of other deers. And it's the same thing with regard to terrorists. When there's one particular, the Boston bombing is a perfect example. You have an event, a bomb. It explodes. There's devastation. Then the first thing that occurs is you get emergency responders. And when you get a collective of emergency responders, that's a perfect time to think of number two. Number two being the second bomb that's going to detonate to attempt to kill as many more people as is humanly possible.
Yep, that's exactly. And with the deer, back it up. It's something useless. My grandfather always said, if you see a female deer, that's when you worry, because the female deers are the ones that always go out first to make sure everything's okay. The male deer's hiding in the woods. So if you see the male deer, you're usually okay, but the female deer, there's more coming.
Well, up where I am, I see a ton of deer. The other strange thing is that's kind of weird but kind of cool, and I haven't seen these guys for quite a number of years, probably close to 15 or 20 years now. I'm seeing a lot of bobcat.
Huh.
And you just don't see those guys. But the deer theory is correct. If you see one, you got to think that there's going to be another coming around very shortly. And they always like to cross the road directly in front of you.
Youngstown firefighters were ambushed last night, and one was shot in the leg while responding to a fire. So they're now expanding their attacks to, which I already knew was coming. Sorry to jump subject on you. I just came across this, but yeah, they ambush firefighters now. They're doing that, and shot one of them. He's surviving. He's fine. The bullet went in and out for his leg, but
well, for you and I, it's no shock.
No, but it still pisses me off.
There are many situations in many cities already where responding fire personnel and paramedics already wear Kevlar and bulletproof vests. So, that's, to us, that's normal. That's just another day in a large urban city. But to some people, to hear that, oh, are you serious? No, come on. Firefighters and paramedics don't wear bulletproof vests. Yes, they do, as a matter of fact, in quite a number of jurisdictions. For that same reason.
Illegally was wearing a bulletproof vest in the state of New Jersey. It is illegal for you to wear. Only police are allowed to own bulletproof vests. But the company that dealt with selling, the emergency equipment, said she would rather lose her business because back when I was doing it, there was a very bad gang war going on in Trenton, and we were being shot at left, right, and center. And she said she'd rather lose her business than to hear that one of us got killed because she wouldn't sell bulletproof vests to us. So, I was wearing a bulletproof vest. I mean, I got into it. I was talking earlier with a professor, of all people, a Jewish professor. And he told me, I don't know what it's like to be hated and attacked and have physical attacks against me. I just started laughing. I'm looking at my phone laughing, and I show my wife, and she's just like, he's a dumbass. Of course, he called me anti-Semitic and all that, and showed that to my wife, and she started laughing because my wife's family is Jewish.
Anti-Semitic because you laughed.
Oh, he didn't know I was laughing. He just immediately, because I'm a Trump supporter, I'm anti-Semitic. What he doesn't know is I married into a Jewish family. My wife's family is Jewish. Their last name is, I know this is going to sound bad, but once I say it, most people go, okay, that explains everything. My father-in-law is a Jewish lawyer he retired for unions.
I'm sorry for laughing.
No,
but it's like you couldn't have created the most perfect, what some people would consider a stereotype.
Exactly, and that's why I brought it up. But I love my in-laws. I do. I don't care what their religion is. I mean, really, between Judaism and Christianity, one believes in Jesus Christ as a savior. One believes he was just a regular man. Big deal. Done. I don't fight over religions, but I'm an anti-Semitic, and it's like I hear that all the time when I was bouncing at bars because I'm a big guy, bald. Oh, you're a skinhead. You hate Jews. I married into a Jewish family. But yeah, I had this professor, he was telling me how I don't know what it's like to be attacked and all that and hated. I'm just sitting there laughing, showing my wife. I'm like, look, hon. She's like, yeah.
They presume to know everything about you when, in fact, they know nothing. And that's the problem with leftists. They make a presumption about everyone that you need to be pigeonholed into a particular area. Here's a revelation for anybody that doesn't know. My wife happens to be Mexican. I'm saying Mexican to make a point.
Yeah.
She says she's not Mexican. All she says is she's an American.
Yeah.
This is another great point. When I first met her, about 10 years ago, at work, on the job, she made it very clear that she voted Democrat. Over the years, I've changed her. She's now a registered Republican, and she says a lot of the things and thinks a lot of the ways that I do. Because she said, I never considered thinking this way before. I never considered that there were other options. I never considered that there were other philosophies and other ways of looking at things in life. So it was like, she said it was like removing some blinders. And I thought that was a wonderfully apropos description.
I have a good friend of mine, a black gentleman, successful businessman, hardworking. I mean, he makes me look like a bum, which isn't hard. But if you call him African American, he'll punch you in your face. Because to him, calling him African American says he is not a true American. He's only half American. He's like, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm an American. Done deal. When I was working for him, and we would get in these conversations, we'd have open conversations about race. I didn't have to worry about if I said the wrong thing, he was going to jump on me for being racist. I could ask questions, his opinion on stuff, and we would have these discussions. I had him on the Southside Mutt Show one night, and we had an excellent conversation where we respected each other. Now, he's a liberal, but he respects that people have a right to their opinion. And you can have a conversation with him without all the goddamn accusations flying, which is an eye-opener. But I have to admit, it was shocking to hear that he's a liberal as a hardworking businessman as he is.
Well, God bless him for that. At least if he's a leftist, that's fine. You can have your philosophies. You can take them home. You can put them in the oven and bake them. But if you're a leftist or you're a liberal, then at least that gentleman has an open mind. Yeah. An open mind, what a wonderful and unique thing as opposed to what's being taught in today's current colleges.
Well, I've said we need an equal amount of Democrats and an equal amount of Republicans in office. You don't want all of one side. All of anything is not good. X-rays in small amounts are good for you. X-rays in too much, bad for you. Water too much is bad for you. The right amount, good for you. It's that whole yin and yang. If you get too many conservatives, they would get too power-hungry, too controlling. You see where I'm going with it? It's just, I think you need that equal balance of both.
Yes, life is exactly that. Life is a balance. Life is an attempt not to tip one particular way so far, which is why colleges today are so incredibly disappointing, because if you don't toe the line in terms of philosophy, then your life is essentially ruined. There's a person by the name of Peter Thiel who is in Facebook, and simply because he mentions Trump or that he voted for Trump, Facebook and its management is trying to do its level best to remove him. It's just an opinion. It's just a vote. But if you are not in goose-stepping lockstep with leftists, they'll attempt to smear you, and if they can, destroy you. Where's the goodness in that? Where's the understanding, peace, and tolerance to that? I don't see it at all. That makes no sense to me.
It was a bullshit tagline that they gave us to try to justify their way of doing things. And now they don't hide it. There is no tolerance. It's their way only. And what's scary, I'm really, honestly, getting scared lately with what I'm seeing because they're getting more and more violent. They're talking about arming themselves. The people that hate guns are now talking about arming themselves, which, go ahead, arm yourselves, but the shit that they're saying, and as bad as it is, it really scares me. I think we're heading towards a civil war. I don't want one. I don't want to see it, but we're pretty fucked up as a country right now. We are in trouble within itself.
Here's what a lot of people don't realize. I lived through the 60s. I was a child of the 60s, and I also lived through the 70s. In the late 60s, early 70s, and mid-70s, I was a police officer. When I started with the feds and then went to local jurisdictions. And during those times, what people fail to realize and recognize is that in the 60s, on up to the 70s and so on, not just in the United States, but all over the world, the people that were committing violence were not those on the right. Historically speaking, violence has been committed by leftists in this country. There was the SDS, the Weather Underground. I can remember going out to my car because we didn't at the time have our vehicles parked behind a fence like SFPD did. And we would look for bombs under our cars at the beginning of watch. Because I'm in California, SFPD had a station blown up. SFPD also had a number of bombs placed under their cars, which detonated. That resulted in basically the bunkering up of a lot of SFPD police stations. So historically, leftists are in good stead with regard to violence. Historically, it's been them that have resulted to violence. It hasn't been persons on the right. It's been persons on the left.
I mean, I wasn't around for the 60s, so I couldn't compare it, but I was born in 71, and I don't ever remember it being this bad as we're getting lately, and it just seems we're so split right now as a country, and nobody wants to give an inch either way, and we can't give in to their demands and how they're acting. Do you think we can come back together as a country, or are we doomed for a split?
Here's what I think is going to have to happen. We saw it in the 70s, and I think we're doing nothing but reliving history because this nation has historical Alzheimer's, and all these little leftists think that they have their finger on the pulse of history and they know how things occurred. Well, they don't. They have no idea. History to them is revisionist. History can be whatever the hell you want it to do. Here's what I'm saying because I know the nature of man, capital M, which of course includes women et al. You've seen it. I've seen it. The nature of man is such that he's going to have to push the envelope. Man exists to push the envelope. And things are going to get to the point in this nation where they go clunk. Now, we've gone clunk before, and we're going to go clunk again. I'm not quite certain exactly what form it's going to take, but we are going to go clunk. Only until we've pushed that envelope too far will people begin to sit and actually have cause for introspection. It's only when we begin self-examination that we have the ability to stand back and examine what it is that we're doing, and more importantly, how we got here. We're not ready we're not ready for that. We're not there yet. We're still pushing the envelope. At the top of my blog, I write, I am pushback. To a degree, I'm responsible for some of that. But my philosophy is this. Leftists are pushing at a time when we don't need them to do so. We need tolerance and understanding on both sides. So what the left is doing is they're saying one thing and doing precisely the opposite. In some cases, they're saying, in very few cases, they're saying and then holding by way of actions to what they're saying. But I haven't seen such rampant hypocrisy as I'm seeing now on the part of the left. So I say I am pushback on the top of my blog because, well, let me be frank. Well, first I'm busy, then I'll be frank. But let me be frank up front. I'm pushback because I'm not going to let these people push me around. And the more strident and incessant they become, the more I am inclined to push back. Because I'm old now. I'm in my 7th decade. I've seen a lot of shite through my ears. And despite all that, I don't have that long on this little green planet. So quite frankly, I couldn't care less about their little safe spaces and whatnot. Beware, ladies and gentlemen, when you push an old guy that has a great sense of history, he's going to push back, and sometimes you're not going to care for the form that it takes. Now, Trump was not my guy. But the more they pushed at Trump, I began to take it just a bit personally, and I felt as though they were pushing me. So the more I'm pushed, Joe, the more you're pushed, you begin to take it personally. I didn't care for but a fraction of what Trump represents. But then when you pushed at him and you denigrate him, you're beginning to denigrate me. And then when you don't stop pushing, I continue to take that personally. So after a while, though, I detested Trump. It's like someone had taken a dead orange cat and shoved it on top of his stupid head. But the more you pushed on Trump, the more I perceived that you were truly trying to broadcast, you're pushing on me. When you don't care for Trump, you don't care for me. And then it came out. We became the deplorables. And after a while, after being told so long, you're a deplorable, what else have you got to lose? You're going to act like one, and you are going to begin to push back. Well, we didn't have anybody. What was the choice? The choice was stay home or go to the polls and vote, down ticket, like you were saying earlier. I took it personally. When that occurred, when he became the nominee of the GOP, my choices were stay home, vote for Hillary, vote just down ticket, or vote for Trump. So, to me, it was very plain. I wasn't going to stay home. That's not in my nature. I don't do that. I'm a political animal, and I put up a shut up. Well, I'm not going to shut up. That's not in my character. So I voted for Trump. Funny thing is, now, no one on the left, and certainly not the American media maggots, are beginning to recognize what's actually occurring in the front of their faces. Similar to Brexit, for example. People were saying that Brexit, that's not going to happen. The polls were saying it's not going to happen. Well, the polls were full of shite, and it did occur. So that tells you an amazing amount of things about the polls. It also tells you
Let me jump in there
deal.
real quick, BZ, if you don't mind.
Certainly, sir.
We have in Florida, a lawyer has filed a lawsuit for a recount in Florida. And one of his proof that he's putting forth is the polls. And everybody knew Hillary was going to win, but she didn't. And it's sitting there, and even me, an uneducated compared to that gentleman, as they like to call me, I should say. I understand polls are not facts. Polls are predictions off of small samplings on how they think an event will go. But he's bringing these polls as facts, as these people said she's going to win, she should have won, we need to recount. Well, that same thing with Brexit. The polls were showing they're going to stay in the EU, but the people said differently. I think really the left have embedded themselves into so many different areas, and they figured if they, and it's a psychological, if your side is losing and this other person winning, it's very common people want to be on the winning team. So they jump on, let's say with Hillary, and that's what they were hoping. By showing she was up, more people would flood over. As Trump's a lost cause, I'm not going to waste my vote. Might as well vote for the winning team. And that's why I think the left has done. They've embedded themselves in these polling places. They put out these blatantly fake polls to try to, like a psychological warfare of trying to convince people to do what they want.
So basically, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that an attorney in Florida has filed or is going to file a motion on the standing, and you have to have standing, to file in various courts, whether he's going federal or state. His standing is that polls, which are so inaccurate as to they have blatant error margins, and that's how you craft a poll within certain X number of points, plus or minus. So there's an error margin in there. He's predicating his suit upon the fact that the polls weren't accurate. So therefore, if the results didn't hold to the polls, therefore that's his standing for the suit. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's just insane.
I'm hoping it just gets thrown out for number one. I'm getting tired of, Jill Stein's paying for the recount. No, she's paying the fees to apply for a recount. The citizens are on the hook for the actual recount. Now, she has said that she's willing to pay part of the tab in Wisconsin and Michigan, but she doesn't have the money to do that because they're looking at Michigan. They're saying anywhere from $5 to $12 million it's going to cost. It's going to cost about the same in Wisconsin. God knows how much in New Jersey. Pennsylvania. And Nevada has a recount going now. And who's paying for it? The people. Not Jill Stein. And they love to put out that misinformation, but I don't see any of these news idiots that love to push the fake news bullshit that this is an outright lie. And as I talked about at the beginning of the show, the only thing this fake news is about is that liberals can only win by lying and giving misinformation. They have to silence the right. They have to silence the negative information about the Democrats. And it's not false negatives. It's the truth about the Democrats. They have to silence it, so they've come up with this fake news as a way to silence the right. And they're trying to do it on the internet right now. EU is mandating that Twitter and Facebook take off anything they consider as hate speech. That's another one, hate speech. What is hate speech? I disagree with you. That's hate speech. And that's what the liberals do on Twitter and on Facebook. You disagree with them? That's hate speech. And that's why I also worry about the whole gun thing with the mental issue. Because that mental issue will expand to everything, so nobody will own a gun.
That's a thought that I've had for many years. You walk into an office, sit down, and you speak to someone. Now, as you're speaking to an individual, the onus is upon you, Napoleonic law, to prove you're not insane. Jersey Joe, verbally to me right now, prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're not insane. Go.
What's the definition of sane?
Well, no, I'm not going to help you do that.
No, but
you're going to have to do that yourself.
I know.
You're going to have to extricate yourself out of the box that I'm going to place you in by interviewing you. And my primary theory is you're insane. But I get to craft the meaning of insanity, and I get to judge your past actions in terms of coming to that conclusion. Are you a conservative? That's leading me to believe that you're insane.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Do you have a job and you pay taxes? Well, that's kind of insanity because, quite frankly, you could be living off the federal government right now. Well, tick that box for insanity.
Oh, you want to own a gun. That's insane
it's
right
not
there.
looking good for you so far. Well, Jersey Joe, you just said the G word.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that if things don't go well for you, you're going to take your gun and go out on a terrible, terrible rampage? Oh, that's a major black mark against you, Jersey Joe. You know, I really am beginning to think that you're insane. Well, you mentioned guns. I think the first logical thing that I can conclude is we must rid you of your guns. You know, and if you're thinking about doing that, let's look at your verbiage as well. You're not in keeping with God's great plan in terms of leftist words, thoughts, and means. The thought police and the word police have examined you for quite some time now, and they find you seriously lacking. You know, I'm beginning to come to the conclusion, I think I need to remove your freedoms. Not only do I think that I need to remove your freedoms, but personally, I think you might need to have your freedoms completely removed. We might need to sequester you into a particular room or a place or an area where you can no longer conduct yourselves against what we, the leftist elite, consider to be the right and proper thing. And so it goes. Prove you're not insane. When you hold the definition of insanity, that's it. Well, prove hate crimes. What's hate speech? When I get to define insanity and I get to define hate speech, I can make anyone insane and I can make anyone hateful.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're counting on, actually. And it's hard to fight against some of this stuff, because how do you fight against a negative on some of this? You can't fight a negative. And that's what they didn't like about Trump. Because they knew how to fight against Republicans. All you had to do is accuse them being a sexist or a racist, and they would spend the next months chasing that negative, trying to disprove a negative, which you can't do. They knew that's how they beat Republicans all the time. And what do? They go up against Trump. You're a racist. No, I'm not. And he just ignored it and went straight forward. And he kind of used that against them and used some of those false accusations. And that's one of the things of rules for radical. Make false statements. Put him on to try to disprove that negative. And he...
Okay, Jersey Joe, I hate to interrupt, but I absolutely must right now, because you hit on one of the primary thoughts about why we're seeing what we're seeing now, which is another reason that I ended up voting for Trump. The left pushed back against Trump, and the American media maggots pushed back against Trump. And 24/7, the bleating was, he's stupid, he's an ist, he's an obe. And then they had a blank line there, and they inserted as many ists against him, and they inserted as many obes against him as is humanly possible. The reason the left and the American media maggots, just as you pointed out, are going insane themselves is because they hate this. It had no effect on regular people who are fearful, who fear the left, and who fear words, and who cower at labels like any politician. Trump isn't a politician, and he couldn't have given a shite less.
Yeah.
And the less he cared about it, two things occurred. The more popular he became, and the more the left and the American media maggots were determined to destroy him, because their current tactics, ripped out of the Alinsky program, they weren't working with this guy. And they hated him even more for that. Sorry to interrupt, but you brought out a critical element of why we're seeing what we're seeing today. That's quite insightful of you, sir.
It drives me up a wall with what it's mind-numbing. But they attack, and I at first was against Trump. At first, because I thought it was a publicity stunt, yada yada yada. But when I heard that he was stepping down from his business, it kind of went, maybe he's not using this as a political stunt, because you just don't step down just to do a publicity stunt. And when I saw more pushback on him, and the media was attacking him, and all the politicians were attacking him, that kind of told me, wait a minute, there's something about him. If they fear him that much, both sides, the media something's right about the man. Is he brash? Yes. Is he? Does he say what he thinks? Yes. You know what? I love that about him. I love that he says what he thinks. He's not afraid to tell you to F off. I love that. And I love that he's not a politician. And it pisses me off because for how many years has everybody screamed, we need someone that's not a politician. We need someone that cares about the country. We need someone that's willing to speak out against political correctness. And here comes Trump. And what did everybody, well, not everybody, what did people do? Attack them. The same people who cried for this attacked them. They got what they asked for, and they attacked them. I don't know.
Well, you were talking earlier about the Green Party and Jill Stein. There's an article that came out in BizPac Review where the headline is Green Party releases statement distancing itself from Jill Stein. And here's the critical question that's in the headline of that particular article. Why only recount states Hillary lost? So the person writes, as failed Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein continues her crusade to help Hillary win the White House through a series of recounts in key states, her own Green Party is now saying they want nothing to do with her efforts. So the first question I had to ask is, okay, why? It continues, Stein has targeted 3 key states for recounts in the hope that the vote for Trump will be overturned in favor of Democratic Party nominee Hillary Clinton. Because Stein is now working for Clinton, her own Green Party is calling foul on the recount effort. I agree with that. And in an official release, the Green Party weighed in and said essentially that. So then you have to ask yourself some very basic questions when you consider Jill Stein's insistence upon recounts in those 3 states. You're talking Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Because, quite frankly, Stein received minimal vote counts there overall. But those were states where there was a narrow Trump win over Clinton. Not a narrow Stein win. Stein had a remote chance. So then you have to ask yourself again, who benefits? Well, the answer is clearly, in terms of what I believe, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Those 3 states were completely expected to turn blue for Clinton, but they, in fact, instead turned red for Trump. So the meme that leftists began to spew out all over the blogosphere and the internet was, well, we have to question the election results, just like that attorney in Florida that you mentioned, because there's clearly no way Trump could have won without just rampant cheating. Despite, if you remember the massively hypocritical Hillary Rodham Clinton saying that not accepting the election results is not being an American.
Yeah, I was playing that audio earlier. I repeated that a couple times.
Yeah, there you go. So now, this past Saturday, Stein dropped a pursuit of a recount in Pennsylvania, and then the Stein campaign decided that instead they're going to seek relief in federal court because they couldn't raise the $1 million bond. Well, a federal judge came out yesterday and said that one particular state, the state's law is such that you have to have an additional 2 days for the state to gather itself together. A federal judge, an imperial federal judge, just overruled the state law and said, you have to stop the recount now because the recount has to be completed, and we don't care how you do it, but the recount has to be completed by this particular date, the 9th or the 19th. I forget the day that everything has to be in. So a federal judge just mandated that more money come out of the taxpayer pockets in those particular states. That's, a Wisconsin judge denied Stein's request, actually her demand, for a hand recount in Wisconsin, leaving it up to the individual counties to decide whether or not those votes are going to be counted by machine or by hand. When you count by hand, that means a lot more money is going to have to be spent. And here's the odd thing that a lot of people didn't notice. Hillary Clinton joined in that legal effort. because it's going to benefit her. It's also more of, the women, they've got to stick together. Well, that's just kind of sexist in and of itself.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Factually, Jill Stein raised $4 million. It was initially said. Now she's raised $6.7 million. That's twice what her Green Party presidential campaign did in the entire time that it was running. So the recounts in those particular states, that begs the next question. And nobody's asking this. But you need to. It's taxpayer money. What happens to the money left over from contributors and donations aimed at supporting the recount? The website, the Green Party website, said, if we raise more than what's needed, the surplus will also go toward election integrity efforts. Well, what the hell is that? It's like define insanity. An election integrity effort. What the hell is that? All right, well, let's continue. And to promote voting system reform. Really? Voting system reform. I wonder what that entails. Gosh, Jersey Joe and people listening, do you think that might involve doing their level best to remove the Electoral College forthwith? Completely, entirely. Rip it out by its guts. So basically what that means is they want to be California. California has a super majority of Democrats, which means that once that's achieved, you'll only have Democrats installed in perpetuity. Don't think that's not the goal. CBS News, though, wrote, but as far as the additional money can go, FEC, Federal Election Committee, guidelines are unclear about what do you do with that extra money. And this guy, who's an associate counsel at the Campaign Legal Center, said, and here's the point, there's limited guidance from the FEC on how these funds need to be spent, meaning no one really knows what's going to happen with the money. What that means is, all of those things can mean anything we want it to mean since, after all, we control the FEC. So the bottom line, I like to bottom line things. There's no evidence that voting machines were hacked. Voting machines are not connected in this massive interweb that is controlled by D.C. Yet. The operative word is yet. And as far as I can determine, there's no clear evidence that the Russians were involved.
Actually, can I touch that for a minute, because that's something that really pisses.
Yes, you bet.
I always hear about the Russia, and they're blaming everything on Russia. Nobody really looked into that, and if they did, they wouldn't be saying Russia, because the quote unquote experts, which, and I'm not trying to knock, my father was Coast Guard, but one of the agencies, the Coast Guard Intelligence Agency, are the ones that are making the accusation. But they're not even blaming Russia. They're saying that the hacks that were done are in the style of Russia tactics. That's where Russia comes involved. The experts aren't saying it's Russia. The style of tactics being used are the tactics Russia has used in the past. And that's why everybody jumped on, oh, it's Russia that's doing the hacking. FBI, all the experts said, no, they never said it was Russia. They said it was in the style of Russia.
Exactly. They never said it was Russia. So I go back to prove it.
Yep.
Where's the evidence? Where's the CTC weighing in on this? That's the Counterterrorism Center.
And the other thing is, Jill
where's
Stein,
the CIA director weighing in on this?
Yeah.
Where's the NSA weighing in on this?
Jill Stein.
The NRO weighing in on this? Where's the DIA weighing in on this?
Yeah,
Where's the DCI, the Director of Central Intelligence, who's the chief amongst them all, above the CIA director? Where's the DNI weighing in on this? I don't hear a peep. Where's the evidence?
And again, I'm not trying to knock Coast Guard. My dad was Coast Guard. I have a high respect. They do a job unlike any of the other services. They have their own expertise. But to tell me that they have international experts, in the hacking and all that makes me and Jill Stein, actually, I was listening to an interview she did the other day, and she contradicted herself because she said these states need to get up with the 21st century on the voting. There's technology out there that would get them into the 21st century. Then she condemned any electronic election device as being hackable. Like 3 sentences later, she totally contradicted it. First, she's saying we need to go to electronic devices. Then she said we need to get rid of electronic devices because they're hackable. In controlled environment. Well, by physics, you can make an elephant stand on an egg, according to physics. Try doing that in the real world.
Well, again, I go back to evidence. You cruise the internet and the social webs kind of like I cruise the internet and the social webs. And I bet everyone listening right now does pretty much the same thing. Show me any videos where the machines that people caught on video were automatically reverting to voting for Trump. I didn't see any. I saw lots of videos, however, in real time as people installed their vote, where they were voting for Trump or someone else, and it automatically defaulted to Hillary Clinton. I've seen a lot of that. So I believe in evidence. Where's the evidence of this?
Yep. And Jill Stein has said it. There is no evidence of hacking. But because of some egghead that does statistics says it shouldn't have happened this way, well, that's not evidence. Statistics are pretty good, but statistics aren't facts. They're an educated guess.
Well, that's like polls. That's the basis for that particular lawyer's suit in Florida that you just told us about. A poll is not a fact. A poll is an opinion, and it's statistically skewed to the point that they call them. You have a skew, a certain percentile, one way or the other. So the evidence, let's go by the evidence. The only evidence that I see is that machines that were hacked or perhaps weren't acting properly were skewing towards Democrats, not towards the right.
Yep.
So she completely avoids that topic.
And why is Jill Stein having this conference and rally in front of Trump Tower yesterday? If it's not anything against Trump, she keeps saying it's not anything against Trump, but she goes to Trump Tower. Well, that's where the media is. No, you've been on a lot of shows. I've seen you babbling on a lot of shows. The media is going to talk to you and follow you. You don't need to go in front of Trump unless you're trying to make a point without saying I'm making a point.
Well, we talk about evidence, both you and I.
Yeah.
We spoke about the evidence that voting machines were or were not hacked, or that the Russians were or were not involved. And then according to leftists, Trump made a nasty statement, is that at least 1 million votes weren't proper, that the election was rigged by 1 million votes. Guess what? I say Trump, this time also, is correct. Here's why. Produce the evidence. Well, the evidence is such in one state. Now, I can speak from that because I'm here in California, what I call fornicalia, because California fornicates everything else in every other state. That said, they have the motor voter law. Jerry Brown has said illegals can get driver's licenses. Now, how do you vote?
Yep.
With a driver's license, you walk in to some precinct or an office, or you sign up, and generally GALPs are staffing those offices. Those are guilty, overeducated white people who can't say no and don't want to say no to an illegal, and they sign them up. How many illegals after Jerry Brown's I need to have the motor voter law, because it automatically then, the motor voter law, when you signed up and you got your driver's license, it signed you up, too, to vote.
We have that in Florida, where there's a senator that just proposed that you will automatically be registered when you get your driver's license or renew. And I looked at my wife. I said, this is for illegal aliens. And she looked at me. I said, because the next step will be that illegal aliens will be allowed to have driver's license, which then will make them eligible to vote immediately. And she looked, because he's trying to blame poor turnout on why Hillary lost. Because some college girl from New Jersey said she didn't know how to register in the state of Florida. And I'm sitting there going, you're a millennia. You know how to Google, how do I register to vote?
That's an incredibly specious argument made on behalf and by some kind of a bubblehead.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's like
but
saying
it's a
that
way to
you're
allow
disenfranchising blacks because it means that in order to check to see if you're a registered lawful voter, you're asking for an ID card. There's a particular video out on YouTube right now where it indicates, and they ask blacks specifically.
Yeah, they want it.
Do you have an ID card or a driver's license? Yes. Did you know where to go to get it? Yes. Did you know how you needed to get it? Yes. Do you know why you needed to get it? Yes. Was it difficult? No. Did you find yourself pushed back? That is to say, people didn't want to give you that driver's license because they know that's the key to be able to vote. No, that didn't happen. It's a ridiculous, stupid, specious, insane argument. So when Trump says that the last statistics that I had in terms of the state of California are this, 700,000 new driver's licenses were issued to people who are illegal in the state of California, that's a statistic from my best recollection of at least a year ago. When Trump says that 1 million illegal people voted, how do you think they voted? Number one, he's factually correct, by the way.
Well, also, vote the truth.
And how do you think they voted? You think they all queued up to vote conservative and Republican? Hell no.
No, they want their...
Trump is correct.
Yeah. Well, Vote the Truth is the one that came out and said that they have proof of 3 million illegal votes have happened. They said they're not done going all through the paperwork of every state, and once that's done, then they'll start releasing the evidence. But they're the ones that came out, not Trump. Vote the Truth is the one that came out and said there was 3 million illegals voting. I mean, he was just passing along information of them. But, I mean, it amazes me because by trying to allow that driver's license, and I could just see it, they're trying to push to allow illegals to vote. That's the simplest thing that can be said. And my wife was, and the other point I wanted to make was, I think it's racist to say that it requiring an ID disenfranchise blacks people. I say that's racist because what you're saying is they're not smart enough and they do not have the capability to go get an ID.
Well, yeah, like Cal said in the chat room right now, that's patronizing.
Yeah.
That's incredibly patronizing to think that blacks don't know how to get on the internet. They don't know how to ask questions. They don't know where to go to seek resources. Again, that's ridiculous. That's just absolutely ludicrous. That's so incredibly, stultifyingly, brain-glazingly stupid.
I see blacks at the bank. I see blacks at the airport. You know, I see them at the liquor store. I see them all over the place. Places that you need an ID, that you have to, by law, show an ID. I see blacks driving all the time. You have to have an ID for all this, so they have the ability. They have them. The liberals just don't want voter ID because they want to be able to circumvent the American people.
Well, it's an insult. So what, leftists, you don't think that black people have the brain power and the psychomotor skills to get into an automobile and prove to an instructor that they have the capability to physically transport a car and drive it properly down a block? That's pretty much what they're saying. So I go back to evidence. You know, there is evidence, however, that dead people voted, that illegals voted, and it's all prodded and abetted by leftists, Democrats, all the way up to the Oval Office, as a particular video indicates that I had on my thing. Well, basically, Barack Obama, direct from the Oval Office, is saying that if you're an illegal and you vote, nothing will happen. Don't fear that, because you're not going to be investigated. Unfortunately, he's absolutely correct. You won't be investigated. So then, your show's wrapping up, so I better wrap this up myself. So I'm a bottom-line guy. What kind of conclusions can we come to with regard to Jill Stein and the recount, the Green Party, and Hillary Clinton? And I came to these conclusions. You mentioned it already. This is a propaganda and publicity stunt, as you already pointed out. I'll go a step further. It's a fundraising effort for Jill Stein, to a degree, to the Green Party, although they've now officially disassociated themselves from Jill Stein in the recount. But it's a fundraising effort for Jill Stein. And what you get when you do that also is you want to latch on to what is called the donor list. When you get the donor list, the list of names and addresses of the people that have contributed and probably will contribute in the future, that's the key. That's the crux of the biscuit, is fundraising. The key to fundraising is having your own donor lists and coveting it and possessing it.
Yep.
The other thing that it is, it's cover for Hillary Rodham Clinton's attempt to sour and overturn the election. And what I also submit finally is this. It is a larger, much bigger, overarching attempt to diminish, delegitimize, foil Donald Trump by any means possible and stop him and or conservatives from getting any traction or momentum whatsoever. And I think they are all applicable to this particular situation we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it's... this whole thing is mind-numbing anymore. It's... And as you said, one of the things that she did was she expanded her mailing list when she goes to run for president again, and she's got a larger mailing list to ask for donations.
Well, that's why it's a publicity stunt. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's a publicity stunt because now leftists are going to remember when she gets on the ballot again. Don't think you've seen the last of Jill Stein, because you haven't. When she begins to campaign again in 2020, leftists are going to think, oh, Jill Stein. I remember her. She's the lovely lady that was on the Green Party, that poor Jill Stein, she wanted money to help her for a recount.
Look what I did for the people.
I remember that Jill Stein. I remember her face and her name. Hey, I need to vote for Jill Stein. Now she's installed in the brain housing group of much of America, whereas before, not so much.
Yep. Yeah, this show's kind of blown by, hasn't it? I didn't even take any of the breaks. It's amazing the how low people will go anymore. I mean, but it is it's a push to take control. Nothing more, nothing less. They know they're going to make millions of dollars. Well, hang on, Kel. If you look at the Democrat Party as a whole is the hippie movement. Those that were hippies back then. And it was one of the arguments between Hillary Clinton and Saul Alinsky during their conversations. They argued where Hillary said the best way to destroy the government is to become part of the government from within. Saul Alinsky wanted to destroy it from the outside, where Hillary said, you got to destroy it from the inside.
Well, that's like the Cloward-Piven program. I don't know if you've heard of the Cloward-Piven motion, but it goes like this. Joe Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, I believe, are the names of the people. One male and one female, way, way left. And what they said was this: if you want to enable the Cloward-Piven action, you need to place so much onus and baggage upon the system and deplete it of its resources and demand so much of it that the system completely collapses upon itself. When the system collapses, that's when you rebuild. That's the Cloward-Piven. And we're seeing it enabled right before our very eyes, right now. Google Cloward-Piven, and you'll see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. But here's the deal, and I know you got to go. Leftists and Democrats, they talk a good deal, a good talk about healing America, about uniting its people, when in fact they, and recounts for that matter, do nothing of the sort. Instead, they continue to fracture and divide and basically erode the confidence that Americans have to have in order to look forward to a new administration. They're the ones that are fomenting instability. They're the ones that are fomenting disrespect, incivility, and precisely the exact same kind of violence. Looting, fires, riots. The same shite you saw on the streets of America directly following Trump's election at the hands of specifically leftists. Although the meme at that time, if you recall, was that the people on the right, supporters of Trump, they're the violent ones. When in fact the exact opposite was played out on TV screens across the nation day after day and night after night. It's just they're going to continue to push. I'm going to continue to push back. This is all going to go clunk in the not too terribly distant future. And here's another clunk that's coming that no one is talking about. Our economy is unsustainable. We're about to go back and ask for more money for a budget. And of course, Congress is going to give D.C. all the money it wants on both sides of the aisle. Historically, that's how it's always happened. It's unsustainable. So civilizationally, culturally, maybe I should say it that way, culturally, we are heading for a big clunk.
Yep.
Budgetarily, we're heading for an equally big, if not bigger, clunk. Gird your loins, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, and I'll be the first to don a tinfoil cap for you. Guard my words, mark my words. All of this is coming. If you're smart, you're going to go right now, get precious metals, and they're not the kind of metals that you're thinking of. Get yourself a source of water. Get yourself some food, because soon things are, in fact, going to go clunk. Here's another point. Look at Venezuela. The systems of America and technology is such to the point where we are pushing continually the envelope in terms of stores. That is to say, when something is gone from a store, what's the backup? Well, the backup is in terms of production. You don't want to overproduce. You want to keep something sort of flowing continuously to the stores, to the markets, to the marketplaces, to the places where you go and purchase goods and products. And that margin is very thin of production because it doesn't pay anymore to keep too much stock on hand. Look at Venezuela, what's occurring down there. It's not entirely impossible that your local market can be fleeced by rioters or those persons who are attempting to stock up, so to speak, as all it takes is one fire, one hurricane, something like that, to devastate all the stocks of food and water. And those stocks are gone. And I'm not a nut when I'm saying that.
No.
I'm prepared. Are you?
Well, we have to take a look. I mean, look what OPEC just
I
did.
see it coming.
OPEC
and I see no alternative to it.
OPEC just announced that they are cutting production of gas, which is going to skyrocket our prices again, and they're doing it on purpose to fuck with our economy, which will cause another drop.
Yes, but here's another thing about that. OPEC and all its allied and member nations decided that they were going to continue with production because they wanted to have a negative impact on the United States' ability to seek its own oil.
Yeah.
In other words, fracking is such a thing, technologically speaking, that until you get to a certain point in scarcity, that it doesn't pay to frack when oil is plentiful. When oil, and here's what they're not understanding. They already tried to frack us out of business, so to speak, when they continued to pump production and oil was plentiful. Right now, at the ARCO across the street, not far away from here, gas is $2.09. And that's including the, I think it's almost 50 cents a gallon taxes from the state of California and the federal government. Think how much cheaper it'd be if those taxes weren't there.
Yeah.
So they're going to bring down the production of oil. Guess what? When you make oil more scarce, you also justify the reason to continue fracking, because now it makes fiscal sense to do it. When you continue with fracking, what does that do? That gives people previously unemployed, now they have jobs. And it couldn't happen at a worse time, because now you've got a president-elect who does, I believe, think and believe himself in the ability of the United States to be as energy independent as possible.
We already right now pull out enough oil that we could supply ourselves and still export. But no, we export something like 90% of our oil, and we rely on Saudi oil for our gasoline. Well, why don't we? I think it was Denmark my dad was telling me about, and then I have to get going. Denmark was in the same way, and they're economically screwed. But they were drilling and exporting all this oil, and they said, you know what? Let's concentrate on our economy. And they decided to use their oil for their country. Their economy's doing great. People are working, and they're exporting a large amount of oil still, and they rely on their own oil. We could do that ourselves with ease.
Yes, we have the capability to be energy independent. There are massive reserves sitting under us of gas right under our noses. There are still many huge reserves of petroleum on our coasts.
Well, they're also finding out. A buddy of mine works for one of the gas companies, and he said those wells that were pumped dry in the 70s, they went back to test them, and they found out they're filled again. Those empty wells.
That.
Yeah, because they actually think now it's an insulation of the earth or some kind of byproduct from the earth. I hate to cut you off, but we are there. We're running out of time, and I just want to give one last little thing that I saw this weekend on Twitter, and this guy put an excellent point out. The media is upset with Trump's comment about the media, and they prefer Obama, who tapped the reporters' phones. So Obama was illegally listening and wiretapping them, but they don't like Trump because he tells them to their face what he thinks. I want to thank BZ. Go ahead. Go ahead, BZ.
They have no sense of history. They have no memory.
Yeah.
One final question. What's the number one export of the United States? I'll answer it for you. Gasoline. Yep. Refined gasoline.
Oh, I didn't know it was refined. I did not know that.
Not oil. We don't export. Oil is not our number one export.
I was under the impression that we didn't have the capability to refine it to gasoline. That's why we export so much. I did not know that. I am out of time, BZ. Give where everybody can find you real quick.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for being on your show. I enjoy being here every time. Thank you ever so kindly for allowing me.
No problem. You know you're welcome anytime. Everybody, you've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Radio.
YouTube, Speaker, and iTunes. I will see everybody tomorrow for the Reaver of Common Sense right here at 11 o'clock till 1 p.m. Have a great day. You've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense with its host, Jersey Joe. You can tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on hppundit.com and shrmedia.com.